welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacy. You're joining us for our Leaders and Legends segment. Joining us by phone today, we have John Pollock, CEO of Financial Gravity, a nationwide financial services firm that specializes in helping business owners reduce their taxes. Welcome to the show, John.
Thanks for having me.
So, we were talking with you for a few minutes before the show. You are in the tax planning business, but you are not a CPA. Is that correct?
Yes, I am not a CPA, and I'm not a tax attorney.
Okay.
So the joke is that's why I'm so good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's just I solved the problem that I saw in the marketplace because I had the problem. I was a small business owner. I started doing well, and then I started paying a lot in taxes. I kept hearing that rich people don't pay their fair share, and I felt like the number that I was writing to the government was well beyond my fair share. So I figured either I wasn't rich enough or I just didn't know how to play the game. So I figured I would try to figure out how to play the game. And then I found out that, for the most part, small business owners are being left out of a very wondrous game that the federal government has put together for us, and no one's playing it because we're all so busy. We're just trying to make ends meet with our own businesses. We don't have the time to figure out how to save taxes, so we built a business out of it.
Wow. So what is the difference between a CPA and an EA?
So a CPA is the Certified Public Accountant, so it's one of the single hardest tests that you can take, and it teaches them how to become an accountant, is the A. And an accountant, for the most part, is a historian. They record what you've done. They know how to do double ledger accounting and depreciating, your inventory and stuff that mere mortals don't know how to do. It's a 2-day test, so it's a very, very difficult test. They're very bright people, but they're not trained to do tax planning. They're trained to do accounting and record the data the way the rules are, general accounting practices are. An EA is an enrolled agent. So an enrolled agent works with the U.S. Treasury. They actually get licensed by the U.S. Treasury to file tax returns. Still, not really a tax planner. They know how to put numbers in the tax return, which a CPA does as well. Some of them do, some of them don't. But an EA, that's all they do. They put numbers in tax returns. They fill out the tax returns. They are record keepers. Their job is not to say, you know what, if you move this number from this part of the tax return to this part of the tax return, you can save $10,000. That's not their job. Their job is to get the number into a box. They don't know that there can be another box. So you've got two designations that are trained to touch the tax return or deal with our life as it relates to taxes, and neither of them know how to lower taxes. They're not trained for it. They don't know how to do it. And ironically, the type of personality that's attracted to both of those fields is not a creative one. And since the tax code is very complex, mixing and matching different strategies takes some creativity. But that's not the type of people that are attracted to it. So we've tried to build a business around that so that our clients can save taxes. And we save our average client about $20,000 a year.
Wow. That's huge. So I have
It
a
is
CPA
huge.
that does my taxes. Are you saying he's not a tax planner?
No, he's not. So, I'll throw out a couple ideas that you can take to your CPA and see how they respond. I know exactly how they'll respond because it happens so many times. That's why we got into the business. It was funny because we wanted to work with CPAs, but they just didn't want to implement any of the strategies. Like, for instance, there's a 14-day rental rule. You can actually rent your house to yourself 14 days a year. There's even a box on one of the forms that says next to the box, 14-day rental. So this is a legitimate strategy. They even put a box for it. It's called the Augusta strategy for those in the know, because a lot of people that live on the Masters golf course will rent their house out the 2 weeks leading up to the Masters. And then that's all that money is tax-free because of this 14-day rental rule. Now, many accountants will say, yeah, but, my clients they'll do it wrong. They'll do the paperwork wrong, so we're not going to use it, which is nuts because an accountant's job is to get the paperwork right. But the 14-day rental rule is something virtually every small business owner can use. It will save them anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a year in taxes. And it doesn't take that much work, so everyone should use it. If you have a swimming pool, you can write off your swimming pool.
Really?
In the tax code.
The installation of it or the maintenance?
No, good question. A lot of people we always have to qualify that. No, just the maintenance.
All right, because I was about to get a pool.
I had that. That's happened a lot. Yeah. I'm getting a pool. No, you can't write off the installation, but you can write off the maintenance, which isn't a lot of money, but hey, a couple $100 a month, and you're in the 25% tax bracket, that saves $50 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, why pay it?
So
Why pay it?
Do you find that people that use you going with a proactive tax planning strategy, that they're at an increased risk for an audit?
Yeah, so this is another question we get asked quite a bit. So I always kind of push the question back. First of all, do you think someone that makes a $500,000 a year is more likely to be audited than someone that makes $50,000 a year? Think of the IRS as a collection agency. And if you're a collection agency, you want to get the biggest bang for your buck. And someone that's making a $500,000 is more likely to have mistakes. And if there is a mistake, I'm more likely to get more money out of them than someone that makes $50,000. So it's our job as tax planners is to get your income down to $50,000. So we have to do it legally, morally, and ethically, but there's 70,000 pages of code. So the other illustration I use is think of a kind of a red light and a green light. If you go to an intersection and there's a red light, that's the safest part of an intersection. If everybody had red lights, no one would ever get hurt. But the government recognized that that is not a productive intersection. So in order to make the intersection productive, they had to provide green lights so that we can go through the intersection as safe as possible. Someone could run the red light and still hit us, but it's safer to follow the green lights. Well, the tax code is about 5 pages of red lights. You pay X, you earn Y, then this is what your tax is. But the green lights is the other 70,000 pages of code. So the mortgage interest deduction, everybody knows about this. It's on the Schedule A. No one thinks that's a risk of getting audited because it's part of the tax code. Just because you haven't heard of it and the 70,000 pages doesn't mean that it isn't as equally legal as the green light, which is the mortgage interest. And so what we do is we look for all these different things that we can do to reduce your taxes. We have one strategy that allows you to put money, this is for the very elite, but there's one strategy that allows you to put $1.2 million a year away tax-free. It's not a 401k, obviously. It's not even a retirement account, but it's available. And if you're making that kind of money, you want to know about that.
That's crazy.
And
You can put away $1.2 million without paying any taxes on it.
Without paying any taxes on it, and it got better. Obama, and he snuck this in during Christmas. He basically passed this law on 12/18 of last year. He increased it from 1.2 million to 2.2 million. So he added $1 million.
Crazy.
Ironically, he added it the year he gets out of office.
Now, how much money do you have to make to be able to take advantage of this?
But it's putting it away, it's saving it, right?
Yeah.
So you're stashing. Well, you still can access it. That's the other thing is you can access it. So if you're a real estate investor, you can use that money that you just stashed tax-free, and then you can buy real estate with it.
This is crazy.
And that's one of your investments inside of the. And this is stuff that's been available to the rich, but the only reason it's available to the rich is the rich don't have a special super secret part of the tax code that only they have access to, and you have to know the special handshake. The tax code's the same for all of us. It's just they can afford the attorneys and whatnot to get to that stuff. Well, what I've tried to do in our company is we've tried to figure out ways that we can take this to the masses. Why can't you have access to this? I mean, the laws are the same for all of us. So if we can figure out a way to get our costs down and make it available to more and more people and still have a business for us, then I think we can help a lot of people, and that's what we've done. And I'm an entrepreneur. I hate the fact that I've worked hard and I've taken the risk, and then I got to send half of it to the government. They didn't take half the risk. They didn't stay up. They didn't work 100 hours a week like I did. There's some role in government. I mean, we do need roads and infrastructure, but at the same time, 50%, and in some states, I'm in Texas, so the most I'm going to pay is 50%, but in some states it's going to be 60, 70%.
Yeah,
That's not fair.
It's
so
ridiculous.
Let's play the game.
This is crazy stuff. So do you actually read the tax code for fun?
No.
Like, how do you find all this? Like,
I have people. I have people that read the tax code for fun. What we do and what's happened as a result of getting on radio shows like this is we've kind of become a hub. So I'll have a financial advisor that has some crazy strategy that maybe is related to life insurance or something, and they want to sell more of it. So they'll send it to us. We'll actually have tax attorneys look at it, and then we'll say, okay, it's a legitimate strategy. This is where we would use it, and then we build it into our overall system. Because the goal is not to sell product. The goal is to help you Now, the advisor's goal is sometimes to sell product, but the goal is to help our business owners. So if the business owner comes in, we want to save them money on taxes. If a product helps them do that, that's fine, but we want to do the stuff that's not product-related first. And then if the product helps, like the one with the $1 million, I mean, that's a product, but it's so substantial, people don't care about the product.
Wow.
So let's talk about, for example, I've heard that a home office, that if I want to write off my home office, it's a red flag. I'm going to end up getting audited. That's true?
Yeah, it's not. It hasn't been. My joke is it hasn't been true since Al Gore created the internet. Once he created the internet, we had a home office that's springing up all over the place. So here's the thing: there are 4 different ways to write off a home office. 4. So if it was a red flag, why would the IRS and the government come up with 4 different ways of doing it and coming up with rules for the 4 different ways? So that's the thing that drives me nuts about accountants is like, oh, you don't want to do that, it's a red flag. Why is it a red flag? It's part of the law. The law says I can depreciate, I can write off a business use percentage, and I can do it in 2 different ways. One is using square footage, and the other one is using rooms. So if you're in New York, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house is different than a house in Dallas. Dallas, our houses tend to be bigger because we have more space. So we use the room rule instead of the square footage rule. But for our clients on the East Coast, where the houses are smaller, we use the square footage because we want to get a higher number. So, it's outlined in the law, and the law actually has made it for that very reason. They wanted to make it as fair. Everyone's worried about the IRS, but a lot of the laws are pretty fair. I mean, here's a law that says if you have a bigger house, then use this rule. If you have a smaller house, use this rule. So it is not a red flag. There's multiple ways to do it, and the government has allowed it for a lot of years. And in every recession, more and more people start houses or start businesses out of their home. So take advantage. If you're running a business out of your home, take advantage of the laws that were designed to help you run your business out of your home.
Do you have a home office?
Me? I have one, yes.
I do.
You both do.
Here's an interesting thing. There was a court case of a doctor who had an office where he saw patients. He had a home office, and then this was the fun one. He had an office at his lake house, and he wrote off all 3 offices. The IRS disallowed it. He challenged the IRS and won.
Wow.
So we now have a court case that says that we can write off 3 offices.
Wow.
And this is the thing that people don't understand is that not only do we have the code, we actually have court cases, and we have private letter rulings. So there's 3 different parts that we're looking for to see if it's been codified. We don't make stuff up because there's so much good stuff in the code. We don't have to get weird. We don't have to do anything that's marginal. We follow the code because the stuff in the code is so good. The most we saved a single client in 1 year was $760,000 a year.
That's ridiculous.
$760,000
in tax savings in 1 year.
That's crazy.
I don't want to pay taxes anymore. You've inspired me. I'm not paying anymore.
Yeah, well, don't do that because we need someone to pay taxes, but we've still got to follow the laws, and most of our clients still pay taxes. They just pay a substantially reduced rate. One of the illustrations we use when I do public speaking is I use the idea of a toll bridge. So think of, San Francisco's toll bridge. On one side is San Francisco, the other side is Marin County. To cross the bridge, I got to pay a toll. Well, when you earn your money into your business, it hasn't been taxed yet. So what if I can spend that money on personal stuff like glasses and braces and massages? What if I can do that before I have to pay the tax on it and it gets to me personally?
Right.
If I could do that legally, I'm using money more efficiently because I'm getting used a dollar instead of a percentage of the dollar. So that's the first thing we try to do is how can we convert personal stuff into business expenses legally? And the example I just gave you, braces, glasses, massages, orthodontics, chiropractor, acupuncture, all of that can be written off at the business level. You don't have to earn it, pay taxes, and then spend money on that.
Oh, wow.
So that's the first thing we try to do is try to do that. Then the second one is we'll try to reduce the tax. The highest tax is regular income, so we want to move it down to dividends and capital gains.
Okay.
And then there's some parts of the code where you don't have to pay taxes at all, like the HSA. There's even a kind of a 401k plan for medical where you can put in $50,000 a year we don't have anyone doing this, but it's there, where you can put $50,000 a year away for medical expenses. So it goes in tax-free, it grows tax-free, and comes out tax-free as long as you use it for qualified medical expenses.
Wow.
So you have to follow rules, but as long as you follow the checklist, you can save tens of thousands of dollars. Now, there are some things, some of my business owners will look at me and say, yeah, John, I'm not doing that. You know, you're going to save me $200 a year. It looks like it's going to be about $500 worth of work. So I'm not doing that. I'll pay the tax on that part. But so we look for the stuff that has a big bang for the buck on the top end. And then once they have implemented those, we start looking at the smaller strategies.
Wow.
Nice.
So we only have a couple of minutes left. Why do you think that people have never heard of most of the strategies available?
You know, I don't know, but there are a lot of guys out there that have written books on it. I don't know if anyone's communicated it well, or there's just not. I don't know. It's one of those. Why didn't I hear about it? I was
Right.
a financial advisor. I had a license, an insurance license. I had a securities license. And I had the licenses. I took, all these courses, and I didn't know any of this stuff. Talking about frustrating, you're like, gosh, I'm licensed in the financial services world, and I can't even say my self-taxes. I just think it's a training problem. Everyone thinks that the accountant knows this stuff because they touched the tax return, but they don't. And so we're working now to train accountants and CPAs and EAs on these strategies so that we can open offices around the country so that more and more people can have access to the rules that are available to us.
Wow, that's awesome.
Excellent.
So for people that are listening, I have a feeling you're going to get some calls just from many of the business owners listening today to the live program and to the podcast. People can reach out to John Pollock, Pollock. It's johnpollockinc.com, or you can find him on Facebook at facebook.com/financial gravity. He's also on Twitter at John Pollock Inc. So thank you for joining us. Lots of great stuff. I think Bob and I will probably end up calling you too.
Yes, we will. We will. Thanks, John.
I'll be here.
That's going to do
Thank
it
you.
for this edition of Get Real. Join us again next weekend for more.